Hi. One of the puzzle pieces of life that we experience much more often than we'd like is embarrassment. It's unavoidable, and it usually crops up when we least expect it. Since embarrassing situations usually catch us by surprise, we don't have the time and the space to prepare for them or figure out how to avoid or handle them. And if there's one thing we human beings don't like, it's being in situations where we don't have much control over what's happening. But embarrassment is a piece of the puzzle we have to deal with. Now, I don't think there's any way to avoid embarrassment completely. And there's no real good way to feel good about embarrassing situations. That's not going to happen. But there are some ways that we can deal with embarrassment which can make it feel maybe a little bit less bad. And that's good. When we feel embarrassed, there's usually a thought in us somewhere that I've lost something. It's like the Chinese idea of saving face, which is kind of related to embarrassment. I don't want to lose face, quote, lose face, by doing something embarrassing. If I stumble for no reason, no apparent reason, I may feel I've lost my image of being in control and self-composed. If I mess up in a speech, I may feel I've lost credibility in the eyes of the audience. If I come out of a public bathroom with toilet paper stuck to my shoe, I think people will see me as a clueless klutz, and my image of being normal, whatever that is, will be lost. Now, one way to make embarrassment less uncomfortable is to cultivate the idea that no mistake or embarrassing action can change anything about who I really am. We don't lose face, or anything else for that matter, because of a slip up or a gaffe. Others will think what they want, but after an embarrassing episode, we will be exactly who we are, and nothing will really be lost. Thinking this way takes some practice and work along the way, of course, if we're going to get used to it. And it requires us to put less stock in what others think about us. But it can help lessen feelings of embarrassment. Embarrassment has a lot to do with our ideas of what other people think about us. When we do something embarrassing, we may wonder if anyone saw it, if it wasn't too noticeable, that is. Or if it was obvious, we often immediately think they must think I'm stupid, or klutzy, or clueless, or uncultured, or whatever. That wondering about what others think about us can make feelings of embarrassment worse. Now, some people will think negative thoughts about us when we do something embarrassing, but that's not in our control, and it doesn't automatically make their opinions true or accurate. But in my experience, most people, when they see another person in an embarrassing situation, will usually think, I'm glad that didn't happen to me. And many times other people will feel bad for the person who is embarrassed, which is a form of empathy. Now, if I'm able to practice imagining people thinking that, instead of thinking critical thoughts about me, it may lessen the amount of embarrassment I have to endure. Another strategy that can make embarrassment worse is trying to cover up, hide, explain away, or ignore the embarrassing event. That only makes us wonder more about what others are thinking about us. As an example, I'll always remember this, Johnny Carson, way back when, once walked out on stage for one of his famous Tonight Show monologues. As the audience was welcoming him with applause, he absent-mindedly checked to see if his zipper was up on his pants. Now, kind of embarrassing. But instead of hoping no one saw it, and wondering if people would be talking about him the next day, his critics, he immediately turned to his sidekick, Ed McMahon, and said, "Did you see that? I just checked my zipper on national TV." The audience roared with laughter, and he simply went on with his monologue, with apparently little embarrassment. Humor about the mistake we might make is a good way to diffuse embarrassment also. So if, for example, I trip on the sidewalk while walking with a friend for no apparent reason, instead of blaming it on a non-existent crack in the sidewalk, which everyone could see there's no crack, I can joke and say something like, "Oh, that's okay. It's my first day with my new feet." That's more fun and feels better than being embarrassed. Now, one last thing that can help us deal with embarrassment better is something that can help us deal with others better in any situation. And that is cultivating the truth that all of us humans are basically the same. To kind of come to that belief more. We spend a lot of time and energy differentiating ourselves from each other. How are we different? Which is a big problem in our polarized world today. So we need to continually remind ourselves that the same basic things give all of us human beings joy, sadness, anxiety, pleasure, and even embarrassment. That we're all the same in very basic ways. Now, if that becomes more a part of my thinking, I probably will not feel so strange, different, and alone and weird when I do something embarrassing. And that would feel better.